unmistakable sight of the CN Tower and Sky Dome tell you you are in Toronto, home of Exhibition Place and site of Round 11 in the CART FedEx Championship Series for 1998, the Molson Indy. For a decade, the winner's podium here on the streets of Toronto were dominated by some of the biggest names in champ car racing. But more recently, what was the Avenue of the Giants has become a boulevard of surprises. In the early years, Bobby Rahal and Emerson Fittipaldi won here. Al Unser Jr. did it twice. But the master of the streets of Toronto has been Michael Andretti, a winner 5 times. Paul Tracy has also won here. 5 men with 98 career victories between them. But 2 years ago, Adrian Fernandez took his very first CART victory here in Toronto. Last year, it was Mark Blundell, only his second. Suddenly, Toronto is a very unpredictable race.
They call Toronto a temporary road course, but it combines the best of temporary courses with the absolute best of permanent courses. What can you do here? Well, wide open spaces. Say that you can stack them up too wide going down into the corners, but it also can collect a car very quickly. That's the beauty of Toronto. It's enticing to a driver. It says, take me in deeper, go in harder, and then when you least expect it, Toronto bites you.
Michael Andretti started off this season with a brilliant win in Miami. Then he started making rookie mistakes while trying to force the issue, uncharacteristic of the winningest driver on the FedEx Trail. With 5 of his 37 wins here in Toronto, the question is, can he turn his season around here today where he has had so much success?
In the 20-year history of championship auto racing teams, no driver has ever enjoyed a run of success like Alex Zanardi is currently enjoying. The man who's given us a steady diet of donuts on our racing menu each weekend has not only won the last 3 in a row, he's won 5 of 10 thus far this year. In fact, over the last 17 races, he's missed being on the podium only 3 times. The only thing he hasn't done this year is win a pole position, and he missed this one here in Toronto by a mere 4/100ths of a second. Now, today in the streets of Toronto, he's trying to do something nobody in the history of karts ever done. That's win a 4th consecutive race.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Drivers are buckling up. They're about to take to the track. Here's how they line up. Dario Franchitti, his 2nd straight pole in Toronto, starting next to Alex Zanardi, who's never won here. Row 2, Michael Andretti, a 5-time Toronto winner, and Gilles de Ferran, looking for his first on these streets. Row 3 will be Christian Fittipaldi and Jimmy Vasser, who was the fastest man in the morning warm-up. He's 3rd in points. Row 4, Tony Kanaan, the rookie points leader from Brazil, and Scott Pruitt, 2nd quickest this morning. On row 5 will be Bobby Rahal, who won the first race here. This is his last appearance. He's next to 93 winner Paul Tracy. On row 6, Andre Ribeiro, his best start on a road course this year, and Canadian favorite Greg Moore. On row 7 will be Richie Hearn, 4th quickest in the morning warm-up, and Al Unser Jr., a 2-time winner here in 1988 and 90. Row 8, the defending race champion Mark Blundell and Adrian Fernandez, who won it here 2 years ago. Row 9 will be Brian Herta. His 2 third-place finishes this year have both been on road courses. He's next to Canadian Patrick Carpentier. Row 10 will be Mauricio Gugelmin, the winner the last time the Champ Cars ran in Canada in Vancouver last year alongside Max Pappas. Row 11 will be Helio Castro Neves and Robbie Gordon, who's finished in the top 10 in all 5 previous Toronto starts. P.J. Jones and Michel Jourdain Jr. will be on row 12, both making their 2nd start here in Toronto. On row 13 will be German Arndt Meyer in the bright yellow Lola and J.J. Leto of Finland. And on row 14, Alex Barron, P.J. Jones's teammate, and Walter Salas, who suffered a hard crash in qualifying yesterday. Welcome back to Exhibition Place from high overhead. You see the field snaking its way around on the first warm-up lap in anticipation of a green flag for the Molson Indy. Here are the stories we will be following. Alex Zanardi suffered an engine problem in the morning warm-up. More on that in just a moment. The drivers have been complaining uniformly about a lack of grip, and that's unusual. Normally rubber builds up and the track gets more traction-like, provides better grip for the cars. Here it's been getting worse. And of course, on a street circuit with those concrete barriers all around, the race is about track position, and that includes not only grip but also fuel strategy. Let's take a look at the circuit, Danny.
Well, we're talking about traction around here. We have a lot of concrete patches in turns 1, turn 4, turn 5, turn 8, 9, 10. Very slippery on those concrete patches. Of course, that's a lot of the track. Good places to pass, down into braking into turn 4, under braking on the start-finish straight into turn 1. Those are the places we expect to see the most passing.
Long back straightaway is Lakeshore Boulevard. We expect speeds of up to 170 miles an hour. Now let's talk about reliability, and no team embodies that better than Target Chip Ganassi Racing. Take a look at these numbers. Through 10 races this year, Team Target has suffered 0 mechanical failures. In fact, Jimmy Vasser has completed every race, the only driver to do that, while Alex Zanardi has dropped out of 1. That was the Budweiser at 500 at Twin Motegi in Japan, where he crashed. The rest of the field of 26 cars has averaged 3.2 mechanical difficulties. So that is the kind of consistency that wins championships. Now, more on our points leader, Alex Zanardi. Here's Jack Arute.
Well, Bob, that consistency has been tested one more time for the second consecutive week. Remember in Cleveland last week, Jimmy Vasser, the pole sitter, had a problem in warm-ups on the final day on race day, and they changed the gearbox, and in doing so, they forgot to connect some electrical connectors. Well, Alex Zanardi, starting on the outside of front row here, he encountered a turbo problem early on in final practice. They brought the car in. They exchanged Honda motors. They went to Honda, and Honda took it out of a general pool. But when you're hot, you're hot. Guess whose engine they got in the general pool to put in Alex Zanardi's car to start this race? How about the spare from Dario Franchitti, the pole sitter at the Molson Indy?
It's going to be a great first corner, and we've got in-cars sprinkled throughout the field. First, we go on board with Michael Andretti, a 5-time winner here at Toronto. Now to Scott Pruitt from behind the driver, looking ahead from the Visteon Reynard from Pat Patrick Racing. Looking out the back of Pruitt's teammate, Adrian Fernandez, 2 drivers who improved a total of 22 positions in last week's race at Cleveland between them. On board with Bobby Rahal in his final appearance. He's been receiving honors and checks all weekend for his new foundation, benefit the needy at each stop on the CART FedEx Championship Trail. This has to be an emotional moment for him. On board now with Christian Fittipaldi, Michael Andretti's teammate, who has been very quick all weekend, still trying to get off the schneid and win that first career CART victory. This is looking back from the roll hoop just behind the head of Gilles de Ferran. Walker Racing in the Valvoline car, starting in the number 4 position alongside Michael Andretti on row 2. And now on board with the runaway points leader, Alex Zanardi. 3 straight victories coming in, 5 altogether this season. If he can win his 4th in a row, he will tie the CART Series record held by Al Unser Jr. and pick up a big check, $100,000 to the race winner at each stop on the CART Tour.
What they're trying to do there is warm the tires up, move them back and forth, accelerate forward, get some heat in those tires, so when they go racing, you'll see in a lot of those in-car cameras throughout the day, those concrete patches, they are very slippery.
And we talked about the money that Alex Zanardi or anyone else in his field can win just by winning the race, but that man in the green and yellow car, pole sitter Dario Franchitti, can pick up the Marlboro Pole Award bonus, $15,000 into the kitty at each stop on tour. It goes to the pole sitter if he can win the race. It's $270,000 coming in. The circuit, 1.721 miles around, 95 laps of racing coming up. Mark Blundell led nearly every lap, all but 2 in this race a year ago. We expect pit stops around lap 30. And we have an overcast sky with a slight chance of rain, just adding to our story. Now the field bunches up 2 by 2. Franchitti and Zanardi on the front row. Franchitti the first on the gas. Zanardi right there behind him. Michael Andretti sliding in as well. Gilles de Ferran with the white nose on his Reynard to the outside will make a move on Zanardi. It's very close there. He has to slide into 3rd. Franchitti takes the early lead as they thread through turn 1. Dario Franchitti, Alex Zanardi in the red Target car, then Gilles de Ferran, Michael Andretti to turn 3, and Andretti will go side by side with de Ferran.
He tried to go around the outside there because there's more grip on the outside of that concrete. Look at this. You saw de Ferran lock up that left front tire, and Michael made the move he needed to make.
Oh, and you saw Michael struggling with the car. What a cut and thrust move by Michael Andretti on the very first lap here in Toronto. To the front.
Michael does not want to lose touch with that group. You saw his car in the back of your screen there really make a big wiggle coming off that corner. He wants to stay in touch right here with this two cars.
On board with Alex Zanardi, looking ahead to race leader Dario Franchitti, who was able to open up a pretty good gap. Both cars are the same combinations. Honda engines, Reynard chassis, Firestone car. Quick twitch there for Zanardi.
And Dario Franchitti is doing exactly what he wants to do. Get away a little bit from Alex Zanardi and the rest of the field. Get a clean track in front of him. And hopefully put a gap in there so he can settle into a good rhythm.
Paul Tracy, Dario Franchitti's teammate, in an identical car. Running with Christian Fittipaldi just behind. This is 6th and 7th. The running order across the bottom of your screen with the time differential to the race leader, Dario Franchitti. Third race lead of the year for Franchitti, who also led on the streets of Long Beach and at Rio. A huge crowd on hand here in Toronto. A whole week of activities that have generated over $36 million for the city and brought in over 165,000 visitors. Coming around to complete lap 3. There's Andretti. Behind Michael in third is Gilles de Ferran, Jimmy Vasser, Paul Tracy 6th, Christian Fittipaldi 7th, then Scott Pruitt, Tony Kanaan, Richie Hearn is in 10th. Then Bobby Rahal, Andre Ribeiro, Robbie Gordon, Greg Moore, Alan Zer Jr., Patrick Carpentier, Adrian Fernandez, Mark Blundell, Brian Herta, and Mauricio Gugelmin.
And look at this, Tony Kanaan trying to go down the outside of Scott Pruitt, get on that good concrete, do the maneuver. Oh, and Scott wasn't having any of that, just pinched him right there at the wall. Tony Kanaan had to back off or suffer the consequences.
He may have even touched that wall. You saw the car jump. Christian Fittipaldi trying to close up. A very difficult place to pass. You can see the racing line where the rubber has been laid down through the various practice and qualifying sessions.
The reason you're seeing some of these maneuvers around the outside on that concrete is the concrete on the racing line is worn and very slick. So the drivers have figured out if I go around the outside, I've got more grip. I can be maybe faster around there and make a pass.
Are you surprised to see the car sliding around the way they are, even with full loads of fuel?
Not with what the drivers have explained, that how slick this track is. They're going to be doing that all day long, and it's going to get worse as the fuel load lightens and the track gets slicker.
Pictures coming to us from Molstar and the Canadian Broadcasting Company, CBC. Paul Tracy right there in the cool car, started 10th, now runs 6th. Robbie Gordon also on the move, started 22nd. He's up to 13th. And this is supposed to be a tough place to pass. But Robbie Gordon has that Toyota singing. Currently in the 13th spot. Look at the lead for Dario Franchitti over Alex Zanardi.
Dario Franchitti right there has just come out onto the back straightaway. See that long bend? Now he's going down the back straightaway. There'll be a slight kink to the right. He just went through there. We'll lose him for just a second. He's hard on the brakes. Downshifts, second gear through that concrete patch. See the car slip a little bit. Uphill, a little left-hander. Hard on the brakes here. Another concrete patch. Tippy toe through there. Now we'll accelerate in, up through the gears. Double apex right-hander. Comes down here, a very fast blind right-hander coming up right now. Go through there flat out, hard on the brakes, right-hander. See the concrete patches there again. Up into through the gears, a left-hander, a little bit more concrete. Right-hander, that's the entrance to the pits right there to his right. Now left-hander onto the front straightaway, widens out a little bit here, down into braking for turn 1. Second fastest part of the track. See the concrete patches there again.
That's the view from our Honda Helicam. A total of 6 former winners of this race are in the field. I believe that's the most we've seen all season long through 10 races. Bobby Rahal, Alan Zer Jr., Michael Andretti, Mark Blundell, Paul Tracy, and Adrian Fernandez all in the field here today. We'll take a break and return with more from Toronto. Welcome back to the Molson Indy. Bob Varsha, Danny Sullivan with you. Gary Gerould, along with Jack Arute in the pit lane. There is Walter Salas, Brazilian, racing for the Peyton Coyne team this weekend in place of Dennis Vitolo. He has already suffered through a major crash right at this part of the racetrack in one of the earlier sessions. The race leader right there, Dario Franchitti, continues to motor away from Alex Zanardi. The gap now 2.5 seconds. There is Zanardi in red. There comes Michael Andretti in third. Then Gilles de Ferran, white nose on the Valvoline car, followed by Jimmy Vasser, Paul Tracy in green and white, then Christian Fittipaldi, Scott Pruitt, Tony Kanaan, Richie Hearn, the top 10. Bobby Rahal runs 11th, Andre Ribeiro and Al Unser Jr. 12th and 13th, followed by Robbie Gordon and Greg Moore.
You mentioned Greg Moore. He has struggled a bit at the start of this race, has slipped back 3 positions from where he opened on the grid. Talked with Jerry Forsythe briefly to find out if there was a problem. He said, no, I just think our driver's a little bit gun shy. They've had so much tough luck of late, they didn't want to slide back those 3 spots, clearly.
And the quick look at Walter Salas, who has not been in a race car for 70 days. No practice, no training, no karts, no anything. Before climbing in to run around the streets of Toronto. Right now he runs at the back of the field.
Jimmy Vasser here starting to put some pressure on Gilles de Ferran. You know, Jimmy talked to him last night. He plans to win this race. He's got to get around Gilles and not lose as much ground as he's already lost to the leaders.
There's Dario Franchitti, young Scotsman who took pole in a huge surprise for this race a year ago, but his race ended at the first corner when he collided with Bobby Rahal. There's Alex Zanardi, twice a bridesmaid at this event. He has not won it, but second twice. Last year he chased Mark Blundell all the way to the checkered flag. Now we go on board with Adrian Fernandez in 17th place.
We're going down the straightaway here on board with Adrian, coming into the hairpin, slowest corner on the track. He's got 2 of the players' cars right in front of him. Short shifts up through the gears. That's one, not to break the tires loose, but also to conserve some fuel. Off the corner there's double apex right-hander here. He'll accelerate hard here, right out to the wall now. He goes through a very tricky blind. Right-hander right on the brakes, down through another right-hander. Back over the right side of the track, gets set up for this left-hander. Very important here. Now, quick right-hander. You hear him short shifting there. Hard on the gas, easing it through, right out to the pit wall there. Second fastest part of the track down here into turn 1.
Danny, probably one of the reasons why you're beginning to hear some drivers short shift is the fact that almost the entire field right now is running what we call in fuel conservation mode. It's not a case that they don't have enough fuel to go the distance. What they're trying to do is come up with a strategy and a series of tactics that will allow them to make this a 2-stop race. You've got to get about 1.8 miles to the gallon in order to do that on the methanol. All the drivers up and down pit road, at least from my end, right now are playing with a mixture that is not 100%.
There is Scott Pruitt.
Looks like Tony Kanaan has gotten past Scott Pruitt and driven away from him.
That's the point. He has gone, checked out, as you ride with Bobby Rahal in 11th place, just behind the bright red Budweiser car of Richie Hearn, who in turn runs behind Scott Pruitt. This is Prince's Boulevard, headed for the ornate Prince's Gate, built in 1927, dedicated by 2 royal princes from England. Now onto Lakeshore Boulevard, fastest part of the racetrack, and Richie Hearn looks like he has something for Scott Pruitt.
Scott's going to make his car very wide here as he dives to the inside. Says, Richie, you're going to have to go around the outside, and I don't think you want to do that.
On to Ontario Drive. Remember, these are workaday streets here in Toronto, crowned for drainage and so forth, not a purpose-built racetrack. Back onto Prince's Boulevard, then Manitoba Drive. Hearn still looking for a way around. Sharp right-hander coming up, Nova Scotia Avenue. Twisting around through the grounds of the National Exhibition Center. Hey, nice seats up here. Special seats that were raffled off this weekend to raise money for charity. Huge leather chairs, television sets, headsets to listen to our race call, catering. Not a bad seat. And
of course, plenty of Molson beer, because they do such a good job here. And they were the ones that supplied those seats.
Looking back from Scott Pruitt's car at Richie Hearn. Both cars on Firestone tires, both cars using Ford engines, but a Reynard chassis and a Swift. Oh, look how close Richie gets. Saw a puff of what I believe is tire smoke from Scott Pruitt.
That would be a little bit of a locking brake, flat spotting the tire, or just taking a little rubber off of it. You don't want to do that too many times.
Getting so close to those walls. Yes, one of Scott's hobbies is landscaping. In fact, he owns a company that specializes in the industry.
This is accelerating past the start-finish line, down into turn 1. Now Richie will want to close up here, be as close as he can out onto this straightaway, so he has maybe a shot to pass Scott at the end. It's one of the best out-braking positions on the track. But Scott is making his car very wide there, as he knows that's the prime spot to get around.
This action on lap 15 of 95, and once again Richie Hearn right up behind Pruitt.
And once again we saw that puff of smoke come out of some part of Scott Pruitt's car.
Anyway, just checking with the team, and apparently a minor problem they're saying with brake balance. They're trying to correct from the cockpit. They're not overly concerned here with the Visteon team for Pat Patrick.
Saw the buildup of little bits of rubber, the marbles off the racing line.
Which, as this race goes on, will add to the slickness, because if you get offline and get on those marbles, as we have seen in the past, disaster could await you.
No surprise to see Scott Pruitt and the other drivers locking up wheels.
Oh, look at Richie Hearn. He locked up that right front. The back end stepped out, and away he went. Didn't lose too many spots. Dropped a couple of spots there. Back going. He will be very frustrated.
According to the tire engineers, the total contact patch where the rubber meets the road for all 4 wheels on a modern Champ car is a grand total of 1.25 feet, square feet. All that 900 horsepower has to go through 1.25 square feet of rubber to get to the road. No wonder you occasionally see lockup and a spin or two. Skydome is open. The Yankees are in town to play the Blue Jays. They split the first 2 games. The rubber match comes up today. There is your running order through the top 6 with 16 of 95 laps complete. We'll be back to Toronto after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Welcome back to Toronto, where our first Toyota Spotlight of the day deals with some of the festivities this week in Toronto. At the Palladium, Michael Andretti and wife Leslie tangled in a little domestic spat on the karting track, while Christian Fittipaldi got ready for the ESPN X Games with a little rock climbing. Over at Wayne Gretzky's on Friday night, Jimmy Vasser and many of the other drivers turned out to be introduced to the crowd at a VIP party. I assure you, a great time was had by all. Here in the race, you ride with Scott Pruitt, looking back at Bobby Rahal. Pruitt runs 9th in the Visteon car. Rahal in the Miller Lite machine is 10th. Dario Franchitti leads by 2.7 seconds with 20 laps complete. And more than a fifth of the way into this race, we have not had one visitor to the pits. Green all the way. As I mentioned earlier, Scott Pruitt and his teammate Adrian Fernandez had a terrific race last weekend in Cleveland, making up 22 positions between them over the course of the day, finishing 4th and 5th. On board now with Alex Zanardi. Have a look at the fast laps of the day. How close they are, and look at the different laps they came on. And look how many of them belong to either Dario Franchitti or Alex Zanardi. Which explains why Michael Andretti in 3rd is now 4.5 seconds in back of the race leader.
It also explains why those guys are 1-2 on the batting order right now.
I suppose it's worth mentioning here that Alex Zanardi, with his 59-point lead toward the PPG Cup and that $1 million driver championship bonus, doesn't really need to win this race as much as Dario Franchitti does.
He doesn't need to. He would like to, but he does not want to throw away those second-place points, especially with the guy that's out there in front of him who is not a threat at this stage of the season to him. If that was Greg Moore out in front, he might be pushing it a little bit harder.
To Jack Arute in Zanardi's pit.
Well, Danny, the reason that he's not pushing at Alex Zanardi, that is because of this man right here and the man right next to him, Chip Ganassi, the car owner, and Mo Nunn. Now, what they have been doing throughout the course of this race is looking at the fuel mileage that's being produced. They've got the onboard telemetry reading out on one of the monitors. In the meantime, they also have a monitor set up where they can watch onboard cameras. Why are they doing all this? Because they want to pick and choose the proper time, as I alluded to before, to make this a two-stop race. They're going for the win. They're not playing it conservatively, but they are trying to manage their fuel mileage.
Let's hope toward the end of the race they have enough fuel to just drive the wheels off these things. There are the marbles I spoke of earlier. There's Robbie Gordon, currently shown 14th. The Panasonic-sponsored Reynard Toyota on Firestone tires. He's got Greg Moore just behind him. Al Unser Jr. first to call in the pits. This is on lap 23. Unser Jr. was having a great race a week ago in Cleveland before he tangled with his former teammate Paul Tracy at the exit and was spun to the back of the pack.
I've got a feeling that that situation right there was a pit strategy because I didn't see him do anything to the car or fiddle with the car. I've got a feeling that Al Unser Jr. and Roger Penske are up to their tricks of trying to improve through pit stops their track position, launch him up to the front of that pack, and hope for a yellow or some type of a situation.
Michael Andretti sawing at the wheel of that Swift Ford on Goodyear tires. Very bumpy back here on Lakeshore Boulevard.
You know, we've heard from Jack that Chip Ganassi and Mo Nunn have a strategy down there. Everybody seems to be settling into a comfortable pace, sitting in a position, not pushing it too hard, trying to pass somebody. And I'm not so sure that everybody doesn't have similar strategies out there.
Well, Danny, there is a problem developing on target Team Ganassi. Not for Alex Zanardi, but for his teammate Jimmy Vasser. Vasser has radioed in that he thinks he has the rears going away. Not the rear gears, the rear tires. He feels like maybe he abused them a little bit too much in the early going, and now he's going to try and hold on until they come onto pit road somewhere around lap 31. Let's also update you. Last week, we said that there was a mechanical problem when the mechanics changed the harness for the shifter for Jimmy Vasser. A post-mortem on the car itself discovered that it was a legitimate electronic failure that created the problem for Vasser in Cleveland.
And despite that problem and having to shift the car manually using the clutch as well as the sequential shift lever, Jimmy Vasser finished the race and continued his run as the only driver to finish each stop. Now you can see the racing line building up between the piles of marbles.
Well, Jimmy Vasser, if he's suffering a problem with rear tires out there, I've been looking at the lap times. He's still posting either the fastest or second fastest time almost every lap.
And for race leader Dario Franchitti, he has reported to his crew in conversation with Kim Green, he wants no changes on his upcoming stop.
Let me interrupt you, Gary. We're watching a replay of Greg Moore going around Robbie Gordon. That put Moore up into the number 14 spot, Robbie 15. And then the other player's car, Moore's teammate, Patrick Carpentier, had problems for Gordon now.
This could be why he got by him like that.
That's Adrian Fernandez in the orange and green car. And that's one of the players' cars with problems. Gordon back up to speed. There may have been a tangle down there in 3. There's Michel Jourdain Jr.
Look ahead at the top of the screen. Look up there, a bottleneck. Everything is stopped. Somebody has made contact. Looks like Arndt Meyer on the outside in the yellow car up against the wall. Those cars on the right have had to stop.
Alex Zanardi second in the race. There comes Paul Tracy through. The yellow car stopped is Arndt Meyer in the Lola. Looks like we have one of the Dan Gurney cars, that white car, and one of the Penske machines.
We're going along. It looks kind of like a slow, boring race. Everybody seems to be in a strategy, and then everything just breaks loose.
Our first full course caution of the day. There you see, definitely one of the Penskes. We'll be back. Welcome back. We have a yellow flag, and of course we have pit stops. Gary Gerould.
Race leader Dario Franchitti for his first service. He wanted no changes, so it's fuel to rubber only. way. They'll see if he can beat Zanardi out. Jack, how's Zanardi doing? Here comes Franchitti.
Well, Franchitti is away. Zanardi had to lock up his car, just able to get onto pit road as Franchitti has gone away. A
Problem for Gilles de Ferran. He's in the outside pit lane. He's skidded to a stop. It looks like the balance is off on the car. He's in a precarious position as everybody roars by at 60 miles under the control limit on pit road.
Zanardi and Tony Kanaan went wheel to wheel down there and won. There you pick him up. Looks like Zanardi will get the spot. Here's Christian Fittipaldi's problem.
That was a wild stop. Michael got out second. Vassar got out third. Look at this. De Ferran is stopped in the pit, very frustrated, waving. Have no idea what happened there. Those look like they're scrubbed tires, so I can't not tell
What do you want to do? Well, as soon as they'll let us, I'd like to bring us back in the pit, see if we can fix it.
That was Derek Walker talking with his driver.
And he said, let's see if we can fix it. There's obviously something wrong. He didn't just stall it out there. So he has obviously some kind of a mechanical woe.
Now over to turn 3. There is Michel Jourdain Jr., second generation race driver from Mexico. There is Gilles de Ferran still in the pit lane. Once again, our pictures coming to us from the CBC.
And also something happened with Christian Fittipaldi because they had to pull him back into the pit. He might have just stalled. He got out last out of that group. And he was having a great run going.
Push rod, get a push rod.
Suspension problems, it
Is
appears.
that all you need, Dan? What it looks like from here.
This is what started everything. Right down here looks like Patrick Carpentier going in underneath Robbie Gordon. Locks him up. They turn. They make contact. Still get around the corner. Here we go. Adrian Fernandez right of your screen trying to slip up the inside. Now here, right here is Michel Jourdain.
Alex Barron on the left.
Barron, who they're going to make contact almost. Alex Barron locks him up. Touch here. Touch the inside of the wall. Gets it up on 2 wheels. Arnmeyer in the yellow car. He tries to slip through. And then look who. J.J. Lato runs in the back of him. And Andre Ribeiro stops. Then we have another car came into the view there. What a traffic jam at the hairpin.
From Michael Andretti's onboard camera, there's Jourdain on the left. Here's the traffic jam ahead. It looked like Arndt-Meyer just made the corner and then missed a shift or something. He just stopped in the yellow Lola on the left. Ribeiro on the right with Alex Barron wedged up against the wall.
And Alex Zanardi got caught behind him on the inside, lost big track position. Michael Andretti, as you can see here on your screen, is in P2.
Now from Alex Zanardi's onboard camera at normal speed.
Now he's coming down here. There'll be yellow flags someplace there. See the yellow flags left of your screen. One car comes around the corner. Oh, what am I going to do? Up the inside, nowhere to go. Watch this maneuver. He has to make sure it's clean to the inside. Can't do anything. Rolls it back, puts it in gear, gets around him. He was lucky he was on a slope there where he could roll back down a little bit and get some clearance, or he could still be stuck out there.
Rush hour traffic on Ontario Drive here at Exhibition Place in Toronto, Canada. Now the Cadillac Catera safety car, part of the PPG safety car fleet, is out there with Dario Franchitti, and here's the order. Michael Andretti second, Jimmy Vasser third, Paul Tracy fourth, Alex Zanardi all the way back in fifth, then Tony Kanaan sixth, followed by Bobby Rahal, Scott Pruitt, Andre Ribeiro, Richie Hearn, Greg Moore now 11th, Adrian Fernandez is 12th, Mauricio Gugelmin 13th, Brian Herta 14th, Helio Castroneves is 15th, followed by Christian Fittipaldi, Max Pappas, Mark Blundell, Robbie Gordon, Walter Salas. There's your top 20. We'll take a break and return with more from Toronto. Welcome back to Exhibition Place in Toronto under a yellow flag. Following multiple incidents, let's go to Gary Gerould in the pit lane.
Joe, you're there battling in 4th place, and then everything just kind of broke loose. What happened?
Well, it was a shame because the guys did a good pit stop. When I was coming out of the box, I just clipped Christian's left rear. I don't know if it was the wheel that the guy took off or the wheel that was already there. Just couldn't get out of the box. Just clipped it. I climbed over his left rear, and that was it. It broke the suspension. It was a real shame.
So that actually happened exiting the pits then on the stop. It wasn't related to the other problems on the track.
No, he was exiting the pits right here. You know, I just came out, the tail swung around a little bit and climbed over Christian's left rear.
Right,
well, Gary, what happened too is in Christian Fittipaldi's pit, he was making a stop. Now they have onboard cameras, but they also have cameras on pit road. And when they went back and they watched the pit stop, as Gilles de Ferran pulls out, you will see the left rear tire changer has not completely made the exchange on the tire. Fittipaldi came in, and you can see as they're showing now, he's going to be pulled in. Now, watch in this area right here. The tire changer pulls the tire up. Gilles de Ferran hits it, kicks it back up, and this means now that the rear tire changer has not completed his work. Fittipaldi pulls away too soon. They don't get the lug on properly. Fittipaldi had to come back in during this caution to finish his service. Back to you.
Man, that was a very dangerous incident as you ride with Christian Fittipaldi.
It's also something that the guy that's in charge of that car for Christian Fittipaldi, he is supposed to get a hand signal from everybody working on that tire, on that car, that they have completed their job before he lets them go, so that we don't have that type of a situation.
For Gilles de Ferran, who is now out of the race, that's his 5th early departure in 11 starts this year. Interestingly, when he finishes the race, his average finish is, his worst finish is 7th. As we take the green flag. Oh, and there's Patrick Carpentier. He apparently has spun it into the wall at the top of the start-finish straightaway. It looked like the Canadian driver kept the fire alight. Finish my point on Gilles de Ferran.
He's still trying to get the car turned around here. And there is our
Mark Blundell, our defending race champion. Come on, guys, let me finish my point here. 7th or better for de Ferran when he finishes the race. 20th or worse when he doesn't. Back up to racing speeds. There's Dario Franchitti working lap number 31 of 95.
And if I'm looking at that screen correctly, Alex Zanardi has already made a pass on Paul Tracy and moved up 1 position.
Puts Zanardi right behind his teammate. Yes, he has the 2 red cars of Jimmy Vasser and Alex Zanardi, just behind Michael Andretti. To Gary Gerould.
Patrick Carpentier visited the pits quickly. They surveyed every corner, a little concerned at the left front, then they gave him a thumbs up. He's back out to rejoin the circuit.
On board with Bobby Rahal. Bobby Rahal's co-owner, David Letterman, has provided tickets and meals and T-shirts for 100 at Youth Risk this weekend. And the kart series itself has brought in 50 children as a part of its new Kart Kids program. Give youngsters an inside look at the FedEx Championship Series. Dario Franchitti, Michael Andretti, Jimmy Vasser, Alex Zanardi.
And Bob, a quick further update on Carpentier. There was damage to the left front nose wing, but apparently not to the extent to keep him in the pits. He stays out with a damaged nose on the left front side.
Thank you, Gary. Mark Blundell still sits by the side of the racetrack, but it is a local yellow. PacWest driver and race champion going backwards down the running order. There are the numbers on Michael Andretti and the time gap to the race leader through the last 5 laps.
Not the vision that Michael Andretti wants to have, which is the race leader going away from him at this stage of the race. I know he'd like to be holding on to him so he could put some pressure and hopefully force a mistake.
Now watch,
young Scotsman.
Watch for yellow flags, because we now understand we are going full course caution. Jim Swintel from the flag stand waves the double yellows to retrieve Mark Blundell. We'll take a break and be back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. The PPG pace car is off the track. We expect a green flag for that man. Race leader Dario Franchitti and those who follow. We're back underway on lap 36 of 95. On board with Alex Zanardi on Lakeshore Boulevard. To 170 miles an hour or so before heavy braking, and the cue lines up for this sharp uphill right-hander across that very slippery concrete patch. See the top 6 Behind them, Bobby Rahal is 7th, Scott Pruitt 8th, Richie Hearn 9th, and Andre Ribeiro in 10th. His last podium came at this race 2 seasons ago. To Jackaroo.
Well, there will be no repeat winner as the Motorola car piloted by Mark Blundell is out. What happened?
Basically, the throttle assembly is given up on us. It's the same deal as what we had in the warm-up this morning. And the throttle is sticking out there, and you just can't activate it. And it's the same as I had in Detroit, what put me in the concrete wall there. So, you know, we don't want to end up with a damaged car. And there's no way to drive like that.
Mark, give us an assessment of track conditions. We've heard a lot of talk all weekend about a slickness specifically in the concrete. What about this afternoon?
Actually, the track's not in bad condition. I mean, the problem is you need a car that turns in before you get to the concrete, and the grip's getting down there, the rubber's going down. It's not in bad condition at all. I think, you know, the lap times are probably reflective of that.
Guys?
All right, thanks very much, Jack. On board with Bobby Rahal. Rahal running 7th. Tony Kanaan just ahead. Kanaan the leader for the Jim Truman Rookie of the Year award by 10 points over his former teammate, Helio Castroneves. Now Gary Gerould is in the pit lane with the other driver out of the race.
Patrick Carpentier, we saw the damage on the front nose. They got you a fresh one, still wouldn't handle other problems?
No, the rear was towed differently. Robbie touched me at the back. I don't know if it's because of that or whatever, but the rear was out. And the car rotated very easily after that, and I hit the wall, then damaged the front nose. We stopped, and then we're a few laps behind now, so we stopped.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tough break for another Canadian favorite, Patrick Carpentier, who won on this circuit in the Cool Toyota Atlantic Championship. Series also presented by Championship Auto Racing Teams. Dario Franchitti, the race leader, 6th in points coming into this 11th of 19 races on the season. Look at this traffic jam headed for turn 3. Greg Moore, Adrian Fernandez, Brian Herta, Mauricio Gugelmin, Helio Castroneves, and others.
This is where it gets hairy around here. Everybody trying to make something happen, trying to outfox the other guy. The cars are very close and very little room to do those maneuvers that you'd like to. Everybody fighting for a position so they can get up into the point standing.
11th, 12th, 13, 14, 15, all running nose to tail. With the CN Tower in the background of the National Trade Center here at the home of the Canadian National Exhibition. Once again, Dario Franchitti creeps away from second place runner Michael Andretti. The gap is a 1.5 seconds. We'll be back with more from the Molson Indy. Stay with us. Welcome back to the streets of Toronto, Canada, as the Molson Indy continues, approaching the halfway mark. There you see the running order of the top 6 on the left after a brief yellow flag following an accident involving J.J. Leto in the Hogan Racing Reynard. He is now out of the race. You ride with Alex Zanardi, who has been battling with his teammate Jimmy Vasser just ahead, 3rd and 4th. Now, a few moments ago, Tony Kanaan moved up a couple of positions on the restart. Here's one of those passes.
Top of the screen, pulls out that bright yellow nose. That's Paul Tracy in the green and white cool car. He goes down the inside, clean pass, comes in, Paul tucks in behind him. And Bobby Rahal wants to take advantage of that as well. Now we're on board with Bobby Rahal, looking at it from his angle. To the far right of your screen is Tony Kanaan. Paul Tracy right in front of him.
Gently, boys, gently.
Get over that concrete patch, out onto that back straightaway.
It's so easy in slow motion. Looking back from Scott Pruitt's car at the Budweiser machine of Richie Hearn. Pruitt is 8th, Hearn is 9th.
On board with Richie Hearn is Louis, the frog.
Lizard.
Lizard.
Iguana, actually, I've heard.
That's right. He likes the frogs.
Oh, Hearn under braking there gets squirrely.
What happens there is this pavement change. You saw it go on the concrete. It's a little bit slippery there. The car will take a different set when it hits those concrete patches. We're on looking down at Jimmy Vasser in the red car and Alex Zanardi in the red car right behind him.
Now on board with Alex Zanardi.
Out onto the back straightaway. This is one of the primary places that you want to make a pass. Alex is going to look, looks back to the outside, Jimmy comes back, gets in position for the hairpin.
Showing the car to his teammate.
Whoa, jumps off that car. You see it go sideways. Watch his hands. If they snap back the other way, saw it move back to the opposite direction there. He's correcting the slide through the fast kink here. Hard under braking. Down a couple of gears. Over that curb. See that car bounce? Touches that curb. Tries to put the power down. Accelerates through here. Short shift in between there. Out on the straightaway, up through the gears, down into turn 1, hard on the brakes there, over the concrete, over the curb, a little bit sideways there, up through the gears.
Hey guys, you're gonna like this report. You know, I heard you talking about the car stepping out on Alex Zanardi several times. I just went down and asked Chip Ganassi, I said, does Alex have a problem? He said no. He says he's just trying to pass his teammate. And I said, you sure there's not a problem? He says, Jack, that's why they call it racing.
That Chip. We just saw Alex Zanardi also smoke that right front tire, locked it up under braking. That costs you a little bit. You do those too many times, of course, you'll develop a flat spot on the tire.
We are now past the halfway mark. Here's a look at our race summary. The leader, Dario Franchitti, has led from the beginning of this race. Remember, he is the pole sitter. The green race average. Here are the cars that are out of the race. If Franchitti wins the race, he will pick up $100,000, the winner's purse, plus a $270,000 bonus from the Marlboro Rollover Pole Bonus Program. This race very nearly did not happen. There was a strike of operators of the heavy machinery who put the big concrete barriers you see left and right in place. But cooler heads prevailed, and earlier this week an agreement was struck under which 6 operators came out to help build the racetrack. And their salaries, worth about $60,000 for the week's work, were donated to charity. So congratulations to everyone who helped to get the Molson Indy back on track here in Toronto.
Those guys get paid very well if that was 6 guys' salary for $60,000 for a week's work.
Well, I don't know how many hours they worked. It might have been 24 hours a day. If Alex Zanardi could not be a race car driver, he would be a motocross rider, which is interesting to hear from Alex. He's hurt himself a couple of times falling off his mountain bike. Can't imagine what he could do to himself on a motocross motorcycle. By the way, we'd like to extend our congratulations to Mark O'Meara, who picked up his 2nd major of the year by winning the British Open. You saw it here on ABC Sports. We have a particular affection for O'Meara. He once worked as a runner for ABC Sports, and our producer Bob Goodrich had a couple of golf events back in the early 80s. So see what happens when you hang with folks here from ABC.
Well, Mark is one of the nicest guys on tour. Has a pretty good little car collection down there. Really enjoys his automobiles and enjoys driving them. But really one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet out on tour.
We'll check speeds at the line. The first to come up will be Dario Franchitti, but he is not necessarily the quickest car out there, although I suspect he might be. Let's check him as they flash across the Omega timing line. And the bullet points to the right tell you who was fastest. Thus far, it is Franchitti. 2nd quick, Vassar. 3rd, Andretti. And the rate at which those names come up on the screen tells you just how close together those cars are, because they go up instantly as the cars cross. Battle continues between the Target Chip Ganassi teammates. You can see highlights of the British Open on ABC Sports following our race coverage. Here's how the top 12 stand. We'll be back to Toronto. Back in Toronto at the Molson Indy, our 2nd Toyota Spotlight of the day brings you up to date. We started the race with pole sitter Dario Franchitti, leading points leader Alex Zanardi down into turn 1. On lap 25, Michel Jourdain and Alex Barrett touch wheels, and the result was a collision between a number of cars that brought out the first of 3 caution flags on the day, and leaving Alex Zanardi with no place to go. Later on in the race, J.J. Leto suffered a big crash in the Hogan Racing Reynard. We now have 3 yellow flags. Dario Franchitti leads Michael Andretti and Jimmy Vassar on the track. There's a view from high over Toronto on a gray day after 2 absolutely beautiful days of sunshine. Round number 11 of the CART FedEx Championship Series. There is Helio Castroneves on the right in the Alumax sponsored car for Tony Bettenhausen, and Mauricio Gugelmin in the Hollywood Reynard for the Pac West team. Working lap number 59 of 95, checking the fuel windows for the top 3 cars, Franchitti, Andretti, and Vassar. The yellow portions of the timeline mean those laps were run under caution. The green, obviously green flag laps, and we are into the fuel window. Any lap now, we expect our front runners to be in. While Castroneves and Gugelmin running 14th and 15th. And behind them, Max Pappas in the MCI Reynard for Arciero Wells Racing. At this point, it looks like Castroneves is holding up Mauricio Gugelmin. There is Dario Franchitti, who has opened up a big lead over Michael Andretti.
And actually, look right there, the 2 Ganassi twins have closed that gap up on Michael. Now, this could be a fuel situation where they're sitting there trying to stretch that fuel out to get to where they have a perfect gap. So when they refuel, they can go racing all the way till the end.
Danny, that's exactly the tactics that Michael Andretti and the Newman Haas are trying to do. Watching Michael Andretti as he locks up his tires, but what Michael Andretti is trying to do is maintain track position. He's not concerned about the speeds that he's running. They don't want to get caught like they were at Cleveland, having to run the tail end of the race, monitoring their fuel consumption and getting beat by Zanardi. So what the team has done is dictated to themselves, we will pit on such and such a lap. In fact, it'll be within the next 5 laps. But if they lose a track position, that'll all go out the window.
Jack, do you know how many laps that they need to get to be very racy all the way to the end and take a run at Dario Franchitti?
They won't tell me exactly, but basically what I'm hearing here on pit road is that's exactly what they're trying to do, Danny. When he comes into the pits, they feel they'll have enough to make a spirited chase on Franchitti. In fact, Mario said, look, we haven't forgotten Mario Andretti. We haven't forgotten Cleveland. We're not going to get caught short again 2 weeks in a row.
35 laps remain in the race. That is just about the extent of a full fuel load in terms of mileage. Meanwhile, Michael Andretti battling, as you see, with Jimmy Vassar, and the man you ride with, Alex Zanardi, has now fallen 3.46 seconds behind race leader Dario Franchitti, despite the lockup you saw there on the replay. Let's get down to the pit lane now, and Gary Gerould.
Andre Ribeiro is out of the car. Gearbox problems once again. Andre, the gearbox has been an ongoing problem all season. How frustrating to have to deal with this under race conditions.
Well, it's a shame because we are improving the performance of the car. The car is getting better each race. But it's part of a new package. We just have to work hard, concentrate, make this gearbox more reliable, because I'm sure that by the time that we can start finishing race, we will have good results.
Thank you.
We have a problem in the pits, Gary. Tony Kanaan, we've been watching his stop, shielding his eyes from the water being splashed on the car.
Well, what happened there is he pulled away. That's on fire. That car is on fire. When he pulled away, it twisted the hose sideways and sprayed out all the fuel. Dumps right down there on the hot headers. But we cannot see the flames because it is methanol. It burns clear. You cannot see it. That's why there was a lull there until all of a sudden everybody got hot.
And you saw other crewmen from other teams rushing to the scene of that fire. That's how it works. You are competitors until there's an emergency, and then you are friends, as you see Kanaan being checked out.
I've been in that situation before. Every team down there is out looking after everybody else. They're trying to protect themselves as well as the teams next to them. That fire can spread very quickly when a hose is twisted like that and dumping fuel out.
And Kanaan was well up into the top 10 as he made his final stop. Tough break for the rookie points leader. Now we expect the rest of the leader cars. Oh, Alex Zanardi apparently touched his teammate Jimmy Vassar and spun.
That's down there at the hairpin where he had the problem before. He got going quickly, but look, nobody is in front of him. Nobody is in sight.
Now Vassar got restarted and disappeared. This is the second car involved, Alex Zanardi. And here comes Paul Tracy, who suddenly has a shot at 4th place. We'll take another look.
Down into the hairpin. We're on board with Alex Zanardi. That's it. Locks it up. Doesn't make contact. He did not hit his teammate. He locked it up so he didn't hit the teammate, but that twisted the back end around. He spun.
Jackaroo.
Michael Andretti is the first of the leaders to pit. Doesn't look to be any major changes. The biggest concern is getting all of the fuel on board. They've accomplished that. 13.0 seconds. And guys, you know what this means? Now, if all the pit stops are under green, Michael Andretti will assume the lead at the end of all those exchanges.
32 laps remain in the race for Michael Andretti. Can he go full rich the rest of the way and deal with this man?
And what we have to be careful of here, Dario Franchitti, I shouldn't say we, but Team Cool Green, they have to get him in, make a good clean stop, and get him out clean. And if that happens, this man has a shot at over $370,000.
That would be the Marlboro Rollover Pole Award bonus, $270,000. He's already won $10,000 for taking the pole, plus a $100,000 winner's purse. Let's up that to $380,000 in Franchitti's pocket. Now, Dario Franchitti, by our measure, is past his fuel window. He will have to come in shortly. Michael Andretti, meanwhile, has made his stop. Andretti's shown in 11th place right now.
And look at Alex Zanardi. He's coming back. That was Jimmy Vasser, just went out of your screen there. He didn't lose a tremendous amount of space on the track. He will be driving that thing very hard to close that gap and hope, as he says, my boys can do a good job in the pits.
He squared off those Firestone tires just a bit in that lockup to avoid hitting his teammate Jimmy Vasser.
But Alex Zanardi's luck continues to run with him. He did not lose a position on the track and very little ground. Tremendous recovery there.
In fact, he picked up a spot with Michael Andretti's pit stop. So the order is now Franchitti, Vasser, Zanardi, Paul Tracy, Bobby
Zanardi's in the pits. Zanardi is in the pits.
We'll take him through this pit stop on the 60-mile-an-hour pit lane rev limiter.
That's why you hear that car chugging down in there.
And the team goes to work. Meanwhile, Dario Franchitti is in behind Alex Zanardi.
Well, actually, it is Paul Tracy who will be the first of the Cool Green cars to pit. Now Dario Franchitti will be called on the pit road. They wanted to get Tracy's pit stop completed first, and this means now that they have put the call out to Dario, as many of the drivers are now making green flag stops.
And Jack, one of the things I'm hearing there is Dario Franchitti is getting great fuel mileage if he's running that late. Look at
side by side, Michael Andretti and Alex Zanardi.
And Michael had to lift right there. Alex pinched him down, which he should have done right there toward the wall.
Franchitti is in, Jack.
And it looks to be a nominal stop. Fuel only, new Firestone tires. Again, they had shot the Jack awfully early. They do use the metal.
Did you see?
Before, it was a time stop, guys. They just took on as much fuel as they thought they'd need to go the distance.
And did you see his teammate? He was jumping up and down at the back of the car. He wanted him out of there and get back on that racetrack and win this race. It was exciting.
Like a football lineman in the down position waiting for the snap. Dario Franchitti's crew loves their driver. They wanted to do everything they could do to get him to the top of the podium here in Toronto.
And don't forget, we're talking about $300,000 plus, and the team knows that, and they get excited even more so today.
Now you ride with Alex Zanardi looking ahead at Michael Andretti, who got back around him for 9th place. Ooh, lock up there from Michael.
That's not bad. Little puff there, no big deal. That's not going to affect Michael. Even if those tires get a little square, he'll hold on to it for the rest of this race. There's not that much left. About 29 laps.
With pit stops. Go ahead.
Guys, they've just given Franchitti the green light. They checked the tires. They said no flat spots, no problems with the tires. They also said the fuel looks good. Go for it, they said to Dario.
Look at this race. Michael Andretti is sandwiched in there between Jimmy Vasser and Alex Zanardi. Team Ganassi, he is all over Jimmy Vasser.
Meanwhile, Bobby Rahal assumed the race lead. Pitted is back out, the new race leader. And there you see Rahal going by.
But
the
look at this.
Cars. Michael Andretti gets under Jimmy Vasser.
Remember, Vasser's just made a pit stop. His tires are not up to temperature like they are on Zanardi and Michael Andretti. He just dropped a spot.
So Michael Andretti moves up up into 5th, dropping Jimmy Vasser to 6th. The race leader is Brian Herta. And now Alex Zanardi is probably saying, please, Jimmy.
He's going to try and move right here. He's going to go down the inside. He tried to go in the inside. He does. Look at that. Side by side, Jimmy held his ground right around the outside.
Walter Salas apparently had contact with Al Unser Jr. down in turn 3 and has damage to the car. I say that Unser Jr. was slewing up into turn number 3 as we saw Salas spin to a stop amid a shower of debris. I'm not sure that they had contact.
There's a damaged front wheel on Salas's car, so it will more than likely bring out a full course yellow because of the position he's in, unless they can drag him down that escape road at the end of that straightaway.
27 laps remaining in the Molson Indy. Christian Fittipaldi is the race leader. Dario Franchitti second, followed by Brian Herta and this man, Michael Andretti. We'll take a quick break and return. Here in Toronto, our third Toyota Spotlight of the day brings you up to date on the race. Tony Kanaan running in 5th place and first in the rookie standings could not get the fuel unhooked, and when raw fuel spilled, a fire broke out. Michael Andretti, after his final pit stop, came rocketing through the field, and Walter Salas locked him up and made contact with Al Unser Jr., took flight, and found himself on the sidelines. But we had no yellow flag for that incident. We are under green with 21 laps to go as you ride with Michael Andretti, 12 full seconds behind race leader Dario Franchitti on the racetrack.
Bob, everybody at home must be wondering, why did he get a 12-second lead? Well, Dario Franchitti made a faster pit stop, only took on the amount of fuel that he needed, and then Michael Andretti had to battle the Ganassi twins to get back up in the second spot. That gave Dario Franchitti that big gap of 12 seconds.
And of course, Dario could make that timed fuel stop because he had gone farther than Andretti on fuel mileage. Now, a moment ago, you saw Tony Kanaan's fiery exit from this race as Michael Andretti swings onto the front straightaway. Pits on the right, Trade Center on the left, Prince's Gate just ahead. Let's go to Gary Gerould, who's standing by with Tony Kanaan.
Always a very frightening moment, Tony, when fire breaks out. Everybody, I understand, on your crew is all right.
Yeah, everybody's all right. It's just a little mistake. Sometimes happen. I think we're doing a pretty good job, and I'm glad to be here with Tasman, and I'm just a little hot, but it's fine.
What happened? Was it a case of you pulling away too soon?
No, actually, what's happened, Mike, the guy who put the fuel pump on, he had a problem to get out, and Steve waved to me, so I'm waiting for the guy in front of me. I can't see it my side, and he was slow a couple seconds and just could put it out, so it was a pretty scary moment, but we're all right. Fortunately, we did a pretty good job. I mean, we ran in 5th. The car was very good, so, well, let's go to Michigan now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Right now, Tony Kanaan's lead in the Rookie of the Year standings appears to be safe. The next rookie in the running, Helio Castroneves, is 14th out of the points. He'll have to get up to 12th to score any points and close up on his former teammate. As you watch Bobby Rahal running 5th. The order is Franchitti, Andretti, Vasser, Zanardi, Rahal, then Paul Tracy, Brian Herta, Scott Pruitt, Richie Hearn, and Greg Moore, the top 10. Robbie Gordon runs 11th. Max Pappas is 12th. Adrian Fernandez 13th. Castroneves is 14th. Mauricio Gugelmin is 15th. Arndt Meyer is 16th. Christian Fittipaldi has had a spin. He is back in 17th. Followed by P.J. Jones and Al Unser Jr. To Jack Arute.
Guys, sometimes necessity is the mother of invention. Now, this is a wicker bill that goes on the rear wing of all the cars in the FedEx Championship Car Series to change the handling. But when you're the leader of a race and you're making a green flag stop, and your biggest competitor, Michael Andretti, has already pitted in 13 seconds, your teammates, your crew members, use this to signal a timed fuel stop. Here's what they did. Behind the fuel window here, as the fueler was fueling, one man was watching with a watch. They've determined how much time they needed to take a full load, and then all he did was tap the fuel man like that. He disconnected, and Franchitti was away in a second and a half quicker than Michael Andretti.
All right, thanks, Jack. It has certainly paid off on the racetrack, as Dario Franchitti has allowed Michael Andretti to creep up to 11 seconds behind Right now, Michael Andretti has Jimmy Vasser breathing down his neck. Now look what would happen to the points if Dario Franchitti were to win this race. He would leap to 4th in points ahead of Adrian Fernandez, and within striking distance of Greg Moore or perhaps even Jimmy Vasser, with 8 races still to go in the '98 season. Don't forget, coming up next Saturday on ABC Sports, a Tour de France special as we continue our coverage of this prestigious cycling event, the 13th stage of the race, heading into eastern France. 196 kilometers of country roads, some of the most beautiful country you'll ever see. 5 p.m. Eastern Time and Pacific next Saturday on ABC Sports.
And this is the best battle on the track right now. That's Michael Andretti and Jimmy Vasser right behind him. And then not very far behind that, if I can get it out, is Alex Zanardi.
Don't try this at home, kids. Danny and I are trained professionals. About 3 seconds separates Jimmy Vasser from his teammate Alex Zanardi in 4th. There goes Scott Pruitt and Richie Hearn running 8th and 9th. About 40 seconds behind the race leader.
You know, guys, Franchitti has said that he has waited for the Molson Indy for 12 months. Remember, he scored his first career pole right here in Toronto 1 year ago and didn't even make a lap.
Oh, wait a minute. Dario Franchitti has spun. He has spun. Oh. And he is in a bad spot. It looks like he's stolen. Sorry, Jack. Oh, Michael Andretti almost hits him. And Jimmy Vasser, I could not tell, went right at him like a T-bone. We changed shots.
The crew is seeing these pictures. There is Carl Haas, who along with Paul Newman owns this car driven by Michael Andretti.
And Jimmy Vasser has stopped. That's not Vasser.
That's not Jimmy Vasser.
But he was going in that position.
Is that Paul Tracy? Is that Tracy's car who has T-boned or at least pulled up within striking distance of Dario Franchitti?
This is not cool.
I get it. Oh, can this be happening to Barry Green's team after all they have been through?
And the steam coming out of the side of the car of Dario Franchitti is not him. That is the engine overheating.
And the irony, Danny, of this situation, I was in the process of asking Ed Nathman, who's on the radio with Michael Andretti, his concerns in the final laps, and he had just said about 10 sec, and that's as far as he got, when we could see up on the big screen the spin by Franchitti. The Andretti crew obviously elated because they're now in the catbird seat.
Oh, look at this. The first corner down there, he just got on the throttle too much and just loops it all by himself. Nobody down there, right on that concrete. He tries to spin it around right there. It looked like he had it. Now Michael Andretti comes here inboard. Look at the gap he has to thread through there.
Oh,
I don't want to touch the how he didn't touch the nose of that car. And look at Jimmy Vasser in the red car. Comes right here. Where does he go? Look at this. He slides in. Does he get around? No, he drove over him. He drove over him, and Alex Zanardi passes Jimmy Vasser down the inside.
Moving Zanardi into second place. Here's the view from Alex Zanardi's car.
Oh. Let me tell you, this restart and run to the flag is going to be interesting. Alex Zanardi right behind Michael Andretti. Vasser very frustrated, bounces over the car like an off-road vehicle.
And then has trouble continuing from there. And somewhere in the line that followed,
Michael Andretti coming around. Now they're just waving a yellow flag. He has no idea what's there. Comes around. Oh, what am I going to do? Get around there. He's elated that he didn't hit the car. Out there, let's put as much room as we can
to Jackaroo.
Well, Kim Green has been watching all of these replays, and the disappointment is written all over your face. But what did Dario tell you?
Well, he came over the radio and said that his brake pedal went to the floor, so he couldn't get it stopped. He had to spin the car to try and miss the wall. Certainly pretty disappointing. The race was ours to win.
Can you describe the emotions that you feel right now, Kim?
Well, I think probably a bit like jumping off the CN Tower. You know, we had a great race car all day today. He drove a fantastic race. We had great pit stops. I guess the satisfaction is we're very competitive, and we'll win one real soon.
A $375,000 brake failure, gentlemen.
Barry Green and brother Kim have put their hearts and souls into Team Cool Green. They have come so close. They have been through so much frustration. This one has to rank as the worst. We'll be back. Michael Andretti, our new race leader and the all-time winningest driver here in Toronto, 1989, 1991 with the Newman Haas team, 1992, another victory for Michael. In 1994, driving for Chip Ganassi, and then 1995. 5 wins for Michael Andretti and the potential for a 6th today. Here's how he assumed the race lead when Dario Franchitti spun down in turn 1. Now you are on board with Michael Andretti with 12 laps remaining in the Molson Indy.
And Bob Barsha, very quickly, an update on Michael Andretti. They were concerned about possible tire puncture, and they say everything is fine.
All right, thanks, Gary. Quickly, let's get down to the back. A route has found Dario Franchitti.
In what probably has to be the longest walk back, Dario Franchitti, can you describe what happened?
Oh, we had kind of brake problems all day. We had them in qualifying a bit yesterday. We thought it was because the pads were low. We swapped obviously put new rotors and new discs on the car for today's race, but the pedal was going long in the longer runs, and I braked in there, locked it up, caught the throttle as I was braking because the travel was so long. It just caught me out. It's been inconsistent all day on the brakes a little bit, but you know, it was great up until then. Team Co-Green did a great job with the car, but you know, the brakes was a worry from the start, and it caught me out. What can I say? I can't believe it.
The stoicism, gentlemen, certainly hides the disappointment.
Oh, and look at this right here. We have a car, that's Robbie Gordon, between Michael Andretti and the 2 target cars. This is a big advantage for Michael.
Canadian racing driver Kelly Williams pulls the pace car off, and we are back underway. Michael Andretti, 5th race he has led this year, 8th time he has led here in Toronto in 12 starts. On board with Alex Zanardi, bouncing off the curbs once again.
Robbie got out of the way, very professional. Robbie, get out of there, let Alex go racing. He knows what the situation is. Jimmy Vasser's going to try to go down the inside of Robbie right here into the hairpin. Robbie just moves over. It's not for a position. Bobby Rahal will slide up the inside as well.
There will be 10 laps to go next time by, and that man ahead, you said it earlier, Danny Sullivan, Alex Zanardi, his incomparable skill plus his racing luck.
But the biggest thing that happened here was that Michael Andretti had that Robbie Gordon between them, a lap car. He got the advantage on the restart. He's got a little bit of a cushion there. You're always worried about that when they give the green flag, that somebody like Alex Zanardi will get the jump on you. Now Alex has to close that gap and then find a way around Michael.
In a series of champions, 84 titles between them in the field of 28 that started the day. It is a battle of the champions. Bobby Rahal, 3-time series champion, locks him up. Michael Andretti, Alex Zanardi, Jimmy Vasser, Bobby Rahal, the top 4, all are former or reigning kart champions.
And the bad part for Bobby is the guy that he's racing for, the position behind him is Brian Herta at the top of your screen in the shell car. Christian Fittipaldi there in the green helmet, tries to go up underneath him. Brian Herta.
Robbie Gordon moved aside and let Brian Herta through. Christian Fittipaldi is a couple of laps down, and he separates Bobby Rahal from Brian Herta, the 2 teammates. Once again, Bobby Rahal in the thick of the fight, in this his final season, 17 seasons in kart racing. He had 3rd locked up in Japan earlier this year before a mechanical failure put him in the wall. He would like nothing better than to end his final season as a driver with a victory. And that would bring smiles up and down the pit lane. As the race continues, don't forget, you can get all the latest up-to-date auto racing news on America Online. Your keyword in English is ABC Sports, which is actually 2 words, but they are key. Michael Andretti, 8 laps to go next time by as you watch Vasser and Rahal.
And the Andretti team, incidentally, Bob, taking no chances whatsoever as the skies darken. They've got rain tires up on the pit wall. I don't know that they're going to be needed, but just in case, they're standing by.
Oh, my, wouldn't that be a twist?
Well, we're getting reports that it is beginning to rain in turn one. Some of the drivers, specifically Alex Zanardi, has already radioed in that he's seeing precipitation down here.
No one budging in the grandstand as they sweep past Prince's Gate.
From our vantage point up here, we can see a couple of the other teams. I see some tires out there in the pits from the Gurney team. I cannot tell whether they are wet, but they're getting prepared as their driver actually comes into the pits right now.
B.J. Jones is in. His teammate Alex Barron already out of the race.
Oh, and Jimmy Vasser gets very sideways there, under braking, coming into the corner. Bobby Rahal closes up right behind him. Jimmy has been sliding around a lot after this restart. He is fighting to hold on to that car, and Bobby wants to take advantage of it.
One of the problems that Vasser reported is some thumping on his tires, and they seem to think that maybe during that extended caution, he might have gotten out in the marbles and picked up some of that rubber, Danny, so it's going to take a couple of laps to burn that back off and get him competitive.
Jack, I think it probably has more to do with the fact that he drove over the nose of Dario Franchitti's car, was up in the air. He could have damaged the suspension, or if nothing else, knocked it out of alignment, which is causing this erratic handling.
Excellent point. That's why you're up there and I'm down here.
This is for a podium position. Jimmy Vasser leading Bobby Rahal. 6 laps to go in the Molson Indy next time by as they close up under braking. Turning left onto Prince's Road. Meanwhile, Michael Andretti has a visitor from behind, Alex Zanardi, who was in this position the last 2 years, chasing the race leader with the checkered flag not far away. Stay with us. Welcome back to Exhibition Place in Toronto. Today it's a 1.7-mile temporary circuit. Next week it will be the 2-mile super speedway for the US 500. Join us next Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific on ABC Sports. And with that visit to the super speedway, we will complete the cycle of racetracks that make up the CART FedEx Championship Series, short oval, super speedway, temporary circuit, and permanent road circuit. We are getting reports of light rain now in turn 3 with 5 laps to go. Jack Arute.
Well, let's update you on Jimmy Vasser, guys. It is not a problem with his tires. His gearbox has gone away. He radioed in and said, we'll soldier on and see what we can get for points. In the meantime, it has begun to sprinkle down here on pit road.
Well, a little sprinkle at this stage won't affect everything. The tires are hot. The track is hot.
Oh, Paul Tracy and Adrian Fernandez, I believe, getting together.
Back to what I was saying, if it's a little bit damp, it won't affect it that much. If it really gets where the track is starting to get covered by rain, then it gets very slick.
There is Tracy, who was apparently stalled. There is the other car that was involved, Adrian Fernandez. They were running 9th and 10th at the time. And now Fernandez has the rookie Helio Castro Neves all over him. To the inside goes Tracy. Heavy contact when Fernandez turned in.
I think that was a little bit optimistic there for Paul. He's trying to get back up into the position where he was. He's making a go. He had a good pass going, but locked him up. Got the car a little crossed up. There wasn't anything he could do then but try to ride it out.
And here comes the race leader, Michael Andretti, and second place, Alex Zanardi, up behind Paul Tracy. And you can see rain droplets on that camera down in turn 3. We will have 3 laps to go next time by. And Alex Zanardi is looking for a way past. Our thanks to Molestar and the CBC here in Canada for the pictures today. And now the reports of rain say it is getting heavier.
Now you've got 2 of the best drivers on the circuit out here, if not 1 and 2. And these guys are going to show us some stuff here. Alex Zanardi has closed up on Michael, but he has yet to find a way around him. That's going to be tricky. And with just a couple of laps remaining, Michael is going to make that car very wide in the places that he knows Alex can get by.
3 laps to go. Each man has a CART championship. Ed Nathman, the team manager for Newman Haas, telling Michael Andretti how much time there is to go. Each man with a runner-up position in the championship. Zanardi to the inside. He caught Michael unawares, I think, Danny.
He did. Michael thought he had blocked him, and he took it in there deep enough where he locked up, and Alex Zanardi just made a typical Zanardi move, dove down the inside, had a little bit left, didn't worry about getting around the corner. They almost stopped down there.
And look at the grandstand on their feet cheering this battle between Alex Zanardi and Michael Andretti, as Zanardi will have 2 laps to go next time by.
And Michael tried to get some back under braking there and ran wide in that corner. He couldn't get in there as deep. Alex has pulled out, as you can see, about 5 to 10 car lengths.
Alex Zanardi, the points leader, going for his 4th win in a row to tie a record.
Now Michael thinks he's got it blocked. Alex dives out. Michael locks up a little bit, tries to force the issue. Alex says, forget it, I'm coming through. Not contact by either one of them.
From the onboard.
Michael sees him there. It's too late. He tries to force him down there. Turns in. Look how late they are in the corner. Nothing he could do about it. Alex just dove in. Forget it, I'm coming through. Brake. Locked up a right front. Forget the corner, buddy. It's mine.
How many times have we seen this from Alex Zanardi, who has started on the front row in more than half of his career starts in the CART FedEx Championship Series. His winning percentage over that time has been unmatched in series history. And right now, with the car showing a little bit of the signs of the battle, he will have 1 lap to go next time by.
And he has driven this car very hard. Let's not forget one other thing. He borrowed that engine from Honda. That engine was Dario Franchitti's engine.
Final lap for Alex Zanardi. 4 wins in a row will tie the series record set by Al Unser Jr. back in 1990. And it will firm up his grip on the PPG Cup and its $1 million bonus. Good points for Michael Andretti as you watch Jimmy Vasser now with Bobby Rahal just behind him, the battle for 3rd.
Jimmy doing a very good job today, soldiering on with that gearbox and holding off Bobby Rahal, very experienced and the first winner here in Toronto.
Just a couple of corners now for Alex Zanardi, who is tied with Paul Tracy for career victories among active drivers. He will break that tie after this turn with his 6th victory of the season, the 14th of his career, the 6th in a row, and 8 out of the last 9 for Target Chip Ganassi Racing.
And the big question right now is, where is he going to do his donuts around here at this very tight Toronto track?
And it is the 2nd race in a row that Alex Zanardi and Michael Andretti finished 1st and 2nd. As Alex is coming out of the car, Michael Andretti, meanwhile, just wonders about what might have been. Our final Toyota Spotlight of the day will show you just how strong Alex Zanardi has been this year. 6 victories for Alex Zanardi. The Detroit Grand Prix on Belle Isle with a masterful bit of pit strategy. The Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200 at Portland, a dominating win. And then the appearance of the Donuts in Cleveland when he took over from his teammate Jimmy Vasser. And with this pass, he picked up his 4th in a row to tie Al Unser Jr. for the all-time longest consecutive win streak.
Well, Alex Zanardi gets the congratulations from his teammate, 3rd place finisher Jimmy Vasser. Alex, tell us about the pass on Michael.
I think it was so interesting that I had to keep my concentration on what I was doing. Michael left a little bit of room. I brake. As soon as I saw that he left a little bit of room, I just took my foot off the brake pedal and let the car roll in. It worked. So, you know, I'm sure Michael is very disappointed, but he's one of these guys that you can race with. And once that he felt beaten, he just said, okay, we'll take home 2nd place. So I'm really happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations indeed. Final results. Alex Zanardi's 4th consecutive victory ties a record. Michael Andretti finishes 2nd, and the rest of the top 6, as you saw. Richie Hearn moved up from his starting position. Some good finishes today from drivers who started deep in the pack. And of course, drivers out of the race, including the drivers you see there. Now let's get down to Gary Gerould, standing by with the man who finished 2nd for the 2nd straight race.
Michael Andretti, how disappointing is it to know that you were that close to getting this victory?
Very disappointing, but I did everything I can, but my rear tires were gone. I just had no rubber left on the rear tires, and, you know, that was it. I tried everything I could, but, you know, it was either bang wheels or let them go by, and, you know, it's not worth banging wheels.
Here's a look at the points after 11 races. Alex Zanardi, a 69-point gap, more than 3 full races over his teammate, Jimmy Vasser. The third running of the CART Rio 400 took on a home team flair when Brazilian rookie leader Tony Kanaan charged from row 2 to lead at the first corner. But the lead lasted only for that corner as Alex Zanardi out-accelerated Kanaan on the backstretch and went on to lead 116 of the 133 laps, while Kanaan's brilliant weekend ended with a massive engine meltdown. On lap 39, Paul Tracy and Gilles de Ferran collided in turn 1, ending the day for 2 potential winners. With less than 5 laps to go, Zanardi and Greg Moore sandwiched the yellow Lola of Arndt Meyer. Moore then swept around the outside, while Zanardi had all he could do to keep his car off the walls. Moore then ran out the laps to become the 5th different winner in as many races. Good for a hug from Father Rick. Qualifying and valuable practice time were lost to rain at round 6 at Gateway International Raceway in suburban St. Louis. Lap 1 on a green racetrack produced a spin by Dario Franchitti, and ricocheting race cars in the pack claimed 2 others, including Dario's team green mate Paul Tracy. Michael Andretti once again moved to the front and led more laps than anyone, while rookie leader Tony Kanaan started 3rd for the 2nd straight race, but crashed out when his brakes failed. The race was won in the pits on lap 175, when Andretti led the leaders in for their final round of service. The Ganassi team enabled Alex Zanardi to get back onto the racetrack ahead of Michael Andretti, and that's where the lead was decided. Zanardi then held off the attentions of both Andretti and Greg Moore to become the first repeat winner of the season and the new PPG Cup leader. Round 7 on the legendary Milwaukee Mile featured the 2nd front row sweep of the season for Forsyth teammates Patrick Carpentier and Greg Moore. At the flag, Michael Andretti came calling from his number 4 starting spot and launched an attack on the race leader. On lap 17, it all came to tears as the 2 touched, sending Carpentier into the wall and Andretti limping to the pits. Later, Gilles de Ferran lost an engine, and in the plume of smoke, 2nd in points, Greg Moore collided with Mauricio Gugelmin. Jimmy Vasser took the race lead from Paul Tracy with a quicker pit stop, and then ran to his 2nd win of the year with fuel to spare. But behind him, Helio Castroneves felt his engine sputter in the final corner. As the rookie coasted, Al Unser Jr. came storming up from behind, coming up just 3/100ths of a second short of 2nd place. The win vaulted Vasser into the championship fight. Zanardi 92, Moore 85, Vasser 72. Round 8 on Belle Isle in the Detroit River featured a new high-speed straightaway and lots of pre-race car repairs. On Friday, Michel Jourdain found the limits of the new Turn 3, and Andre Ribeiro tested the walls on a damp track. Max Pappas set fast time on Friday, then hit the wall on Saturday, while Christian Fittipaldi overcooked a corner and paid for it. On race day, Greg Moore and Alex Zanardi motored off into a 2-man battle, while behind them, former teammates Tony Kanaan and Helio Castroneves continued their fight for Rookie of the Year, Kanaan closing to within 2 points with a top 10 finish. Up front, Zanardi could not find a way past arch rival Moore, but again, the Ganassi pit crew stepped up. Moore pitted first and returned to the track, while Zanardi stormed on for another 2 laps. Then Zanardi pitted, emerged in the lead, and was never headed thereafter. Late in the race, this contact between Paul Tracy and Christian Fittipaldi left Fittipaldi a lap down and Tracy on probation for over-aggressive driving. Zanardi's 3rd win of the season boosted him 17 points up on Moore for the PPG Cup and marked the season debut for the Italians' trademark Victory Donuts. The midpoint of the season at Portland International Raceway featured Brian Hurta's 2nd pole of the season and a wild first turn melee. Greg Moore flew down the inside from the 14th starting spot, launched over the curbs, and sparked a crash fest that eliminated Moore, Paul Tracy, and Christian Fittipaldi on the spot, putting Moore on the probation list. Dario Franchitti had an eventful day for Team Cool Green, leading 22 laps, then giving it all back by stalling in the pit lane. Just when it couldn't get worse for the Scotsman, it did. He ran afoul of P.J. Jones on lap 73 and biffed in a big way without injury. Back under green, Alex Zanardi picked up another championship point for most laps led in the race. while Brian Herta's effort to make up for a poorly chosen early pit stop nearly cost him a place on the podium when he collided with the charging Gilles de Ferran. For Zanardi, a dream first half ended with his 4th win in 9 races and a fat 38-point lead over Moore. At Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland, the Marlboro Pole Award bonus passed the $250,000 mark, and Jimmy Vasser put himself in position to win it with a victory from pole, but it was not to be. On lap 4, Greg Moore spun while the field was still closely bunched, collecting Michel Jourdain Jr., Helio Castroneves, and J.J. Leto in quick succession. On the restart, Alex Zanardi saw his opening as teammate Vasser struggled with gearbox electronic problems. The Italian slipped by into the lead and controlled the race from there. On the second round of pit stops, Paul Tracy came in second, but tangled with former teammate Al Unser Jr. at the exit and was called back in for a 10-second penalty. Zanardi regained the lead when Christian Fittipaldi pitted with 11 laps to go. While the battle for second and third featured Michael Andretti and Dario Franchitti, 2 men picking up desperately needed championship points. At the flag, Zanardi cemented his 3rd straight victory, 5th of the season, and 7th in 8 races for Target Chip Ganassi Racing, plus a fat 59-point lead in the run for the PPG Cup.